It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Bandon Beachum. Hey, Bandon, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I watched...
thanks for having me.
I watched a couple of your YouTube videos that you have up, and it looked like a meditation session. Is that what you guys are doing?
You know, you might have seen on our page we were doing, during quarantine, some things like that. Where we were doing, workshops. And I run a communal property here in Venice Beach called the Mystic Manor. And we shoot, I have my podcast, Positive Head, that I've been doing for about 6 years. And I just started a late-night style consciousness-centric talk show called Optimistic. And when COVID hit, we would film out of the Mystic Manor, Optimistic, being a full TV-style show. But we kind of, everyone that was quarantined here, we decided to start doing like workshops and things like that. And so there was some meditation stuff in there, and that's probably what you saw.
Okay. So your show, late-night style consciousness-centric TV show. I think you might want to explain that, what that is exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so, as I mentioned, I've done a podcast for about 6 years, actually this month. Wow, we're right here. Time flies. 1,400 plus episodes, all audio only. It's called the Positive Head Podcast. And it's been, I've been really blessed. It's been pretty consistently in the top 5 in spirituality on Apple, podcast, iTunes. And so I wanted to expand into something that, entailed video. So the idea for that is a show called Optimistic, spelled with MYSTIC, so optimistic, to play on words there. I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and
me too.
So Optimistic is, I would do an opening monologue. There'd be a live audience of about 30 people. Opening, monologue. Then we'd have a main interviewee, soul share guest, as I call them. Then we would have the property that the show is shot out of is the Mystic Manor, where it's a very big property. So we would have retreats the week leading up to the live taping, and my retreat guests would get to come out on stage and be a part of, and ask a question of my interviewee and just share a little bit about their week. And a lot of times they'd had, very transformational kind of experiences. And then we would do a outro with a live musical performance. So we've only released a few of those, and more to come with that. That's pretty new. And then COVID threw a little bit of a wrench, though. Where we started filming, we filmed a bunch of episodes, started releasing, COVID hit, and we kind of put everything on pause. So now as we emerge from the COVID chrysalis, as I call it, I'm looking to get that going again.
Well, I hope so. I mean, this past year has been brutal for a lot of people, and particularly for performing artists who make their money with live performance. They just got completely shut down for the last year.
I know. I have a lot of friends in that space. One of my best friends, toured the world with a really big music artist, and he went from doing very, very well to having no income. And not easy for him and his family.
No, definitely not. So the theme of all of this, all of your shows, is spirituality and consciousness. I see that word in here. People sometimes have a difficult time understanding exactly what that is. If you say religion, people get it.
Yep.
But when you say spirituality and consciousness, it's kind of vague. But in one sense, it is the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. The real difference I see with organized religion, let's say, versus spirituality. I was raised in a very conservative Christian household. So I, went to a Christian college. So, very exposed to organized religion in many forms. And, the difference when I started tapping into my own spirituality, not basically what was kind of told to me, but, really going within and seeking some answers for myself, is the big distinction I see is typically organized religion is pointing to a creator, God, source, whatever you want to call it, the universe, typically God, right, in organized religion. It's God is out there, right? And if we do this, then God approves of us, and if we don't, then God doesn't, and there's consequences. And sort of the very traditional view is the man with the white beard on a who's gonna
on a big chair, big throne. Yeah, I think Charlton Heston portrayed that pretty well in a movie about 50 years ago.
Yeah. And so with spirituality, what I've tapped into with my own spirituality, I like to say I'm spiritual, not religious per se, although religions have a lot of truth woven in, and there's a lot of great teachings. But, Jesus wasn't saying, worship me. Jesus wasn't a Christian, to give an example. He said, I and the Father are one, right? You'll do greater things than I. These kinds of things, the same things that I talk about on my shows and in my new book, The Golden Key, is these very things. I and the Father are one. I am one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things. So are you. There's only one of us in the room. Call it what you will. God, universe, higher self, consciousness, energy. It is you, and you are it. So it's so close, people are missing it. So when you look at organized religion, a lot of times it's happening out there, external, and there needs to be some sort of an approval process, or someone has the access to God, right? And they did this to Jesus, but that's not what he taught, really. Like I said, he was never a Christian. He never said, worship me. He was actually, how do I wash your feet? You'll do greater things than I. Humility. Yes, I am one with God. Yes, I'll say that. But it doesn't make me better or superior, because everything is God, right? It is all the one divided into infinite fractals. And this is how God experiences herself throughout eternity, I believe. This let's pretend like I'm Brandon and you're Douglas, and let's interact. And the great cosmic joke is, though, behind it all, when all the chess pieces go back in the box, it's the same thing. It's God experiencing herself.
Well, the one term that I've heard used over and over again is collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you take that term and then you take the term God, essentially it's the same thing.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it's, though, the alpha, the omega, the beginning and the end, it's, and what's great, Douglas, is we can look at it from a scientific perspective, because, some people, that's a really important angle to view this stuff from. And I believe science and spirituality are like two sides of the same coin. It's like when you start looking at it physically, what is the universe made of? It's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's literally, I'm talking to you right now, but what am I? Well, the particles that make me up, first off, what we call solid isn't even solid at all. It's 99.9999% space. The particles that make me up, they're vibrations of energy. But where did these atoms come from? Well, once upon a time, there was a star that had its young life, its adolescence, its teenage years, its mid-age, its old age. It died in an explosion, and its guts were scattered across the cosmos. At some point, those guts reformed into another planet. Out of that planet, somehow came me and you. So here I am, a star in another expression, billions of years later, right? And so that's what's going on scientifically. It's all reflected in the physical, the same thing as as above, so below, right? It's a reflection. It's all the same stuff. Well, and on all levels.
Right. And even like the movie The Matrix, I mean, they took that concept and just equated it to zeros and ones, so that everything in life could be made into zeros and ones, could all be digital. And that's what they created with their whole Matrix, which is pretty a cool concept. But it stays in line with what we're talking about, you know?
Well, you know, you look at, I don't know if you've ever heard, one of the things I talk about in my new book, The Golden Key, is this guy, Nick Bostrom, put together what he called simulation argument. He's an Oxford guy in, I think, 2001. And he basically, you know, making the argument that we're actually, like the Matrix sort of suggested, are in a simulation, you know? And when you look at, you know, a simulation, it's really interesting. You know, what he basically put forward in the simulation argument was, well, there's three potentials within post-human civilization, as he calls it, meaning they make it post-human, meaning that, you know, they survive all of the pitfalls and trials of, you know, like right now we're in sort of our teenage years where it's like it's touch and go. Are we going to drive the car off the cliff, or are we going to make it,
right,
you know, solve most of the major problems? So he said, well, there's three possibilities. The society dies out before they make it to post-human. 2, they make it to post-human and they decide to opt for low technology. Or 3, they become post-human and they continue to advance technologically. Well, he then assessed what's most likely. You know, what he came up with, you know, by far was the number 3. People would, you know, if this was most likely to happen in many cases, and then they would continue on high technology. So if that's the case, what would happen is these, you know, we're basically, or anyone living in what the world they would create, because it's inevitable that they would create simulations of their existence, right? We're close to doing that now. Look at video games and things like that, where they'd be, you know, indistinguishable. So, you know, so you could have many ancestor simulations for one. You know, all you need is one kid in one of those base level realities, and he could, you know, render many Earths, perhaps, right? Where there's billions of people. So, you know, this is why you have people like Elon Musk and a lot of big names, Neil deGrasse Tyson, talking about, you know, hey, it's very, you know, I think Elon Musk said it's 1 in a billion chance we are in a base level civilization. Like, more likely than not, we are in a simulation. Well, what's the point of a simulation if we are? And who created it, right? Who's behind, who programmed it? You can see this place has been programmed in some ways. It's all, everything you see is actually vibrations of light. Well, what's a video game? It's a projection of light. You know, we can look at the double slit experiment. If consciousness is looking, things snap into one place. If it's not, it's in a state of quantum superposition. Same thing if you're walking down a video game, and, you know, as you go down the hallway in the capsule, it renders in front of you as your consciousness is looking at it. Right. So there's a lot of parallels when you start looking, and a simulation is used to practice something. Like, think a fighter pilot. It's to practice something in a safe environment before you're in the real thing. So, it's a very interesting when you start playing with the idea that that's what's going on here. We're here, you know, in training for something, you know, where the stakes are higher.
Well, you brought up something interesting about technology that I just want to touch on again. And historically, the more advanced one particular civilization had with their technology, they became the ones in power. You know, if you look at just like the Spanish conquistadors who came in the 15th century, and they took over the whole of South America, Mexico, because they had superior tech to the indigenous people. And then, you know, they brought along nice things like measles, which the indigenous people had no immunity to, and just, you know, killed them off with their diseases. But essentially it was because they had ships, they had guns, they had the tech. Okay. And that's been the case throughout the centuries. Who had the better tech? You know, the United States won World War II because we got the atomic bomb first. And what's interesting now is that tech is developing so quickly that I believe that we as human beings are not able to digest it as fast as we are producing it. On the other hand, it has to come around full circle to the point where the tech is actually going to save us from our own demise, rather than the tech being used for our own demise. And I hope we realize that at some point.
Yeah, it's like a scalpel, right? It can be used to heal. It can be used to
kill,
to harm. Yeah. So it's like so much in existence. It's kind of neutral at its core. What you do with it determines, what it evolves into.
Well, let's hope that we have some kind of a worldwide epiphany on that. Somebody brought that up to me on another interview that said they thought COVID was going to be this Kumbaya moment for the world. And I sort of disagreed. I said, it's nice theory, but I don't think anyone wants to rally around a virus. That just is not.
Yeah.
It's not something people want. It's not something people are excited about for the greater good. It's got to be in a better package than a virus. The Martians coming down and landing on planet Earth, that would be cool. But a virus, nah.
Well,
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, who's to say? I had a friend who just spent 3 months in the Amazon with a very remote tribe, and he actually had such a profound experience while he was there that he's decided he's a doctor, and he decided to give up everything in the States, move and get his citizenship down there, and work with this very remote indigenous tribe, because this is what he was guided to do
that's
during his 3 months there, and during that time he used plant medicine a few times called ayahuasca, which you're probably familiar with, and been being used for thousands of years by shamans, and and he was, during his experience, he definitely believes what he was shown. When I talked to him, he was shown that, speaking of Martians coming down, he was shown on 2/22/22 we're going to have a major event with extraterrestrials, and that's going to change everything, where they full reveal.
I hope so. I hope so.
Who can say for sure? But you made me think of that when you said if they would come down, and he was convinced it was a very powerful experience for him.
Oh God, I hope so.
Quite a few things.
I really do hope so, because we need something at this point, particularly after last year. It has been so dreadful, and then the last few years, the way the political situation in the United States has become so toxic. We need a reset that is a positive reset for our society and for the world, And the Martians coming might just do it. It might just do it.
Yeah, I think that might make it. Yeah. That might just achieve it.
Brandon, we got to kind of wind this down. We're running out of time. So you've got a book out called The Golden Key. Can you give us a 1-minute synopsis of the book, what it's about, what people are going to get if they pick it up?
Yeah. The Golden Key is basically, the subtitle is Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. So basically it came to me in a dream, the concept for it, and I've spent 25 years of deep exploration on this topic of consciousness, the ultimate nature of reality, as I like to refer to it. And, I talk about it incessantly on my podcast, 1,400 plus episodes, now the new show Optimistic. And what's great about this book is I've really distilled down into 8 keys. What I found is the path to unlocking abundance in all its many forms, and to living, our best and brightest, greatest and grandest selves, greatest and grandest lives and potential. So it's really distilled down, into, you can listen to the audiobook in about 3 hours or read it. It's 100 pages. I wanted it to be concise, and which isn't always I'm usually pretty verbose. So it was really great to sort of, okay, here it is. Here's the Cliff Notes of 25 years of looking at this stuff. And what's, and results speak the loudest. And it's gotten me some really incredible results in my life. And from health to success to relationship, happiness to, it's worked well, these keys for me. So I wanted to share them with the world. So I actually decided to, I talk about, the idea that it's all one, and in the way to get what you want is to help enough other people to get what they want, because they're actually you in disguise, right? And so the whole idea, premise of this is, I see this book, for me, is my best way to help people make the transition into the next stage of our evolution. So I wanted to practice what I preach and walk the talk and actually share the abundance by gifting the audio or ebook to anyone who would like to have it and empower people to share it with others as well. You just need a code to do it. So in this case, we've set one up for, in your name. If they go to goldenkey.gift, GIFT, use the code Douglas Coleman, all one word. You'll be able to download the audio, ebook, or both. And then you can also create your own code and share it with others if you're really inspired. And then, there's a whole golden game at the end of it where if people, spend any money through the site, I share it with everyone. It's all about spreading abundance in all its many forms. And, it's been quite the journey and very rewarding.
Okay, great. Well, I think we'll use the code Douglas Coleman Show, just so we don't get confused, because Douglas Coleman is a kind of a common name. There's a lot of Douglas Colemans out there. So Douglas Coleman Show would work, and we will put the promo link in the show notes of this interview, and then people would just click on the link, enter Douglas Coleman Show, and they would get your book, right? Yep,
that's it.
Okay.
It's that simple. And, and then you can just, audio, like I said, audio, ebook, or both.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Brandon. This was a lot of fun. I know we could have gone on a lot longer. This is a big topic.
Oh, yeah.
But
it sure is. It's a very big topic, and I appreciate you bringing me on to speak a little bit, about it. And, I appreciate the work that you're doing in the world.
Oh, my pleasure.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Love coffee, huh? But wait a minute. It seems like every time you finish a cup of coffee, you get all of these side effects along with it. Heartburn, digestion, upset stomach, acid reflux. As the world's first and only organic acid-free coffee, Tyler's Coffee is able to provide a healthier option in the solution for more than 100 million individuals who have sensitive stomachs or suffer from acid-related modalities. This is Tyler's acid-free coffee. Coffee without the consequences.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions. You're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Okay, please welcome to The Douglas Coleman Show, Dr. Robb Kelly. Hey, Dr. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir? Good to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing fine. Thank you for coming on the show. Let's see. So you are a doctor, PhD, addiction consultant. What have you discovered as far as addiction in terms of anything new? People have said that addiction, there's a gene, there's an alcoholism gene, that it's something that people have predispositions to because of their parents. What have you discovered?
Kind of the same thing. Alcoholism has very little to do with alcohol. It's not a drinking problem, it's a thinking problem, is the thing I say. So it is a predisposition. You can trace alcoholism back in your family. It will be there. If you can't trace it back, then you're probably a heavy drinker or somebody who's abusing alcohol. So there's the gene tracing it back. So yes, it's all about our brain is different to the normal brain, and it's remapped from birth during childhood trauma, and therefore we find alcohol, and then we're on this downward spiral from day one.
What is the difference between somebody who is a social drinker who can drink every single day and never become an alcoholic, and somebody who drinks perhaps the same amount and ends up becoming an alcoholic? How is there a difference between those people?
Well, alcoholics are born, they're not made. So you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. So the predisposition comes in again. But yeah, my friends of mine were drinking more than me, more often, more quantities. But what happens to me is my brain has an allergic reaction in my body to alcohol. So when it comes into my body, the guy next door to me drink all day long, never going to become an alcoholic. But because my predisposition, the disposition and certain things that my brain hears as a child, hence childhood trauma, all that mixed together is a great start for chronic alcoholism in the end. That might take 5 years, it might take 50, but it's always there. It's like a corroding thread.
So it really has nothing to do with the quantity and the frequency that you drink.
Exactly, and this is why people are not as educated as I'd like them to be, because my father, and even people today, my patients that come to me, they go, Dr. Robb, can I just stop drinking? Well, if you just stop drinking, you're left with you. And if the alcohol's the symptom, then what's really the problem? Well, the problem is the way I think, the way my brain is remapped. I hear different things to my brother. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is evidence-based research. So say, for instance, me and my brother are on a kitchen table standing on it. We're not supposed to be there. My mom comes in, and she says to my brother, because this is what he hears, Paul, get down off that chair. Oh, my goodness, you stupid idiot. Get down. That's what he hears. What I hear, get down off that chair. You stupid idiot. And this is the alcoholic brain with the predisposition. So the trauma with the alcoholic brain is much deeper than the trauma, even though it is still trauma, with the normal brain. So that's the first difference. Second difference, when you take the first drink, you will remember that day. And then obviously the behavior, the addictive behavior, like one is never enough. I don't want one sandwich, I want two. Give me a bag of chips as well, where the guy next to me just has one sandwich and a coffee and he's good. So this comes out in all sorts of absurd actions and patterns. And there is a pattern with alcoholism. I've studied alcoholism for 30 years. I have a PhD in psychology. I have a PhD in behavioral science. So we can't forget the body when talking about alcoholism itself. And that's what people don't understand. If we could just stop drinking, if you could just go to treatment for 30 days, if neural pathways in the brain don't change, you are going to relapse.
Well, what's interesting about that is that you can make a comparison with food, because alcohol and food are legal, they're socially acceptable, and they're used in social situations equally. People get together for dinner and drinks, cocktails, all of that. Parties, there's always food and alcohol, usually. And most people eat and don't have a weight problem. Some people eat and they might eat the same amount as the guy next to them, but they'll continuously put on weight. And some people are binge eaters, some people are binge drinkers. It's very similar. And the health repercussions can also be equally as dangerous for people who become morbidly obese and they can't stop eating. Again, I want to go back to the idea of the two people who sit at the bar and drink equally, and one becomes an alcoholic, one doesn't. But how do you determine which one is the alcoholic and which one isn't? Because look at them...
the alcoholic is not created, they're born. We're born this way. So two guys sat at the bar, equal amounts of drinking, look exactly the same. When the closing time comes, guy A, who's not an alcoholic, will go home to his wife, sleep all night, get up next morning and go to work. With the alcoholic, chap B will go back to the liquor store, go back to his house, drink all night and start drinking in the morning, not go to work, and then the pattern starts over again. It's basically down to self-sabotage. I have a brain that wants to self-sabotage. So we look really good starting things. But give it a couple of months and we start to decline with anything that we do. Because when we build up any kind of future for us, any finances, great new job, it's only a period of time before we drink alcohol and start to self-sabotage. The job goes, the wife goes, texts the kids, the house goes, same as me. I mean, I went to Oxford University. and that I was homeless for 14 months on the streets of Manchester. How does that happen? I'm the smartest guy in the room. Wow. How can that happen to me? It's called alcoholism.
So the alcohol becomes the number one priority in your life over everything else, over family, over work, over education. It's all about getting that next drink, yeah?
Yes. In fact, while I'm drinking one bottle, probably 3 or 4 mouthfuls in, I'm thinking about where I'm going to get the second one from. So what's an interesting research with my evidence-based research over the years is there's a part of the brain near the bottom of the base towards the prehistoric brain that's called a hypothalamus. A hypothalamus is a fight or flight, an instinct kind of the brain, tied to the amygdala. And what happens is the hypothalamus tells normal people to drink water and eat food. That's why we look at a baby, a couple of months old. When he's hungry, he'll stick his fingers down his mouth. We don't have to teach babies that they're hungry. They already know. What it tells the alcoholic over time is to just drink alcohol. And that's why alcoholics can go days or even weeks without eating food or drinking water, because the brain's telling it, this is what we need to do. And then the self-sabotaging neural pathways go, and rightly, just like you said, the only thing that's priority in my life is getting the next drink. And I never drink to go to sleep. I drink to pass out. And when I come round again in the morning, I need another drink to feel normal. And this is where the cycle starts all over again. So, guys, you can go into 30, 60, 90-day treatment centers, but if nothing changed in the brain, neural pathways and remapping, you're going to relapse again. That's my opinion, by the way. Studying what I've studied over the years. Neural pathways need to change. Cycles need to change. Behaviors need to change. There's a new pattern. And if you don't change to that pattern, then you will relapse. It's just a revolving door. I've worked with 6,500 patients over the last 30 years. And this is why we get our research. It's the same thing again, just like building a house. It's the same format, each house, and you'll come up with a house. It's the same when I'm alcoholism. If I miss certain things out that I need to do self-care myself each day, it's like a cake. I might look great from the outside, but it's horrible in the inside, and I'm going to self-destruct. And that could be anything for me. It's just that my alcoholic gene loves the alcohol, but I'm allergic to it. So when I take it, all bets are off.
There's a great word on your bio here that I want to bring up and then have you explain it. I hope I pronounce it right. Neuroplasticity?
Hey, that was on the ball, straight. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Neuroplasticity. About 10 years ago, we found out that the brain was plastic, and that we can remold thinking patterns. And it was such a breakthrough in the medical fraternity, who still are baffled by alcoholism, by the way. That's why I've studied it so much. But yeah, it's kind of changing the thought patterns and changing the brain and the way it thinks. So the outcome. So if I've got billions of neural pathways in my head, but most of them for me regarding the drinking and the self-abuse and the self-sabotage will always self-sabotage. What I try and build and what we do at Robb Kelly Recovery Group is we build new neural pathways. So there becomes a split during the program, and then there's a 7.3 second period where you can take a choice. So it's really intricate. And I think we've only just found, a millimeter of what the brain can do, especially regarding addiction and alcoholism. So I'm excited about the future because I think there's more to come.
Alcoholism is something that's very personal for me because my father was an alcoholic who kicked it, and he completely stopped drinking. He never drank another drop, and then died quite young of cancer, which I believe the alcohol was an attributing factor to. And he was just barely 50 years old when he passed away. For me personally, I used to drink like a sailor, but it never affected me to the point where I always got up and went to work or to school or did what I had to do. And one day I just said, you know what, enough is enough. And I stopped drinking as a scheduled thing because I would always come home from work, have a couple drinks, sit down, watch TV, eat dinner, whatever. And one day I just stopped. I also got arrested for drunk driving. I think that kind of did it. And I just said, and I had to go through all the courses and the classes and all of that stuff and pay a big fine. And it was shortly thereafter that I just said, you know what, this is just not worth it. And I stopped. And I didn't drink for a couple of years. And now it's like I'll drink a beer on my birthday or for some special occasion and just have one, and that's it. So it's like the idea of drinking now is just like, oh, no, I don't want that. Just give me a cup of tea or water or juice or something. I just don't want it. So it's almost repulsive to me now. And
yes,
I can't go and sit in a bar because all the people that are in there are drinking, and I am just completely not of that mindset. So going to, it's all changed. I'm so glad that everything is online now. Because in lieu of going to a club and listening to a band, which I would love to go listen to play, I can't sit there because I'm not drinking and I don't feel part of the group. So if I can see the band on a live stream at home, I'd much rather watch it that way. It's a strange thing, yeah, that it's all connected. The social aspects of it is all connected. Once I stopped drinking, my whole my whole sort of style of life changed for me.
Yeah, I see that a lot. But it's good, though. It's good. And alcoholism is known to jump and miss generations. Maybe that's what's happened to you, because you can stop straight away because you just didn't want to do it anymore. That's awesome. But yeah, what a great lifestyle. I love things online because I don't really like people. I mean, I'm probably the first time I've mentioned this, but I'm glad everybody's gone home and online. My practice is, we've got 4 offices around the world. It's all online now because, you know, I can't be bothered with sitting in that crowd. Even if they are drinking, it doesn't bother me. The compulsion has gone from me and has done for many years. But I don't know. It's just that when people drink around you, they start acting like clowns.
Well, that's just
so
it.
much you can take before you go, done with this, you know. And it doesn't make it enjoyable for me. Not that I'm scared of alcohol or I can't go in where alcohol's served. It's just like, why would you want to hang around with a bunch of drunks making fools of themselves? I'm on a different playing field today.
That's exactly right. You put that better than I did. It isn't you that changed particularly, but it's the way that you're now unable to relate to these people because you're not drinking as well.
Exactly. And again, it's probably got nothing to do with the alcohol. It's just the mindset of people when they get in that of mind that, you know, that they're laughing at something that's not even funny, but because they're drunk, it's hilarious.
Of course,
like, I have no place. No, don't make any mistake. When I was drinking, you know, I would first of all I'd be drinking everybody's drink first of all, and then I'd be trying to hit on someone's wife. That's what I do when I'm drunk, and all this crazy stuff. So I still didn't fit in. So yeah, just come home, watch it on TV, and everything's going to be good.
It's a funny situation. I think you're right about maybe it skips a generation because my grandfather was one of those staunch Christian alcohol is the evil, is Satan's brew. He was one of those. Yeah. And then my father had a real hard time with alcohol, and finally he did kick it, but not without a lot of help. They had him on lithium for a long time, and they really had to wean him off. But he got off it, and you know, more power to him. I loved him for it. With me, like I said, it just wasn't a particular issue. I don't know. I don't have kids, so I won't be able to really determine whether or not it would be passing on a gene to them or not. But, well, I'm happy to hear that you kicked it. How long have you been sober?
I never really give me a sobriety date just because I want to inspire people today. So I always remember coming into some 12-step rooms, and someone said he was 30 years sober. I went out and drank. It's like, there's no way am I going to attain that. So let's say it's been a few years is what I always tell everybody.
And you don't drink at all, right? And nothing? No more, right?
No, nothing. No alcohol whatsoever. And the happiest I've been, apparently I'm the funniest person at the party because today it's about what I can take to that party, not how drunk I get and make a fool of myself. What can I take? Can I be the guy making everyone laugh? Can I be the guy at ease because everyone's drinking and I'm not? You know, that kind of thing. So I love being sober, and I love, you know, I'm outward going. Everybody knows who I am in the industry. I'm not, you know, I'm all over the TV and I've been on Oprah and, you know, all that stuff. And I love that lifestyle today. I really love it because, I don't know about you, but when I stopped drinking, you know, I kind of was living in a friend's spare room. And it's like, if I stop drinking, first of all, I want to earn lots of money, become a millionaire. I want to write a book, and I want to be on national TV. That was my things when I came to America. I mean, why wouldn't I want to do that? I don't want to sit in the same room, looking at this wall all day if I'm not drinking. I want to do things in my life that are a billion times better than what I did when I was drinking.
Yeah, that's true. When you switch your mindset from the most important thing in your life is to get that next drink versus I'm going to get up off my ass and go do something. And now you have the strength and the energy and the determination to do it. With the alcohol on your shoulder, you couldn't. You really couldn't.
No. And my thinking is cleaner. And I'm a great supporter. And a fine example of what you visualize in your head, you can hold in your hand. So I always visualize myself being in the position today in America, being the leader and one of the smartest people around addiction. That's why they call me the addiction doctor. And just helping people like me, helping families like mine. I didn't see my daughters for 20-something years. And I don't want anybody else to go through that, because when I was going through it, Douglas, it was a misunderstanding. No one knew anything about it. My dad used to say, can you not just stop for the children? What's wrong with you? And I couldn't. And I remember when I was homeless, I remember thinking one day, how come nobody knows a cure for this alcoholism? Why does nobody know, and why does nobody mention it? So that's when I came off the streets, I went back to college and I started to study. And basically today, when you come to me, the drinking problem's done from day one. It's not the drinking, guys. Let's get that straight. But now I want to work on the family. We reunite families. We get kids back with mom and dad. And if they've separated, we get happy kids with both of them. I mean, it's just a joy. I never get sick and tired, Douglas, of parents' eyes when they're crying, saying, we've tried everything with our son. What the hell have you done with him? It's amazing. I mean, it's just, I'm that passionate about it. My wife goes crazy. It's like, start me at 6 a.m. and finish me at 12 at night. She says, you can't do that. You're going to kill yourself. I know, but other people are finding life. People, 6,500 patients over 30 years, Douglas.
That is amazing.
Led them all the same way.
That is amazing.
Love this job.
Dr. Kelly, we do have to wrap this up. I just want to quickly mention that you have a book, came out November 2019. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And the title is called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. And you want to tell us anything about it quickly?
Well, yes, that's the last thing my daughter said to me at the age of 3 when they took him off me was, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. So years later, which is only a couple of years ago, when I wrote the book, my eldest daughter came back into my life, sent me a message on Facebook. So when we finished the book, we all decided, my daughter said, can you remember the last thing I said to you? And I said, of course I can. It's burnt on my heart. It's Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And that's what we named the book.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us. I'm sure this will resonate with many people who listen to the show. Certainly resonated with me, so I appreciated it. Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you very much.